I never thought it would come to this. I always believed my wife, Sarah, was my partner in crime, my best friend, and my forever love. We had been married for nearly 6 years, and honestly, things had been pretty good, or so I thought. Sure, life had its ups and downs, but we always managed to pull through. But lately, I'd sensed a shift. It felt like she was slipping away, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. At first, I brushed off the little changes. The way she would come home late from her evening jogs, her constant need for me time, and those nights when she said she was going out with the girls. I wanted to be supportive. After all, everyone needs a break, right? But there was something about her demeanor that felt off. She was more irritable, often snapping at me over small things. I tried to talk to her about it, but she'd always wave it off, claiming it was just stress from work. I noticed her phone usage skyrocket. It was like she was glued to it, constantly texting or scrolling through social media. I told myself to trust her, but the gut feeling of unease gnawed at me like a hungry dog. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing beneath the surface. My friend Jake, who was more of a brother to me, even asked if I'd seen the way she looked at me during our last barbecue. "Dude, she seems distant," he said. I laughed it off, but deep down it made me wonder. Then came the day I stumbled upon a clue that shook my world. I was doing some cleaning around the house, and I found her old backpack tucked away in the back of our closet. It was strange because she'd sworn she lost it years ago. Curious, I opened it up, hoping to find some old photos or mementos. Instead, I found something that made my stomach churn. There was a crumpled up piece of paper with a name and a phone number scribbled on it. My heart raced as I recognized the name, Mark. He was a guy from her yoga class, someone I'd casually dismissed. It was like a slap in the face. I couldn't believe it. I rushed to confront her. My mind was swirling with a mix of anger and heartache as I asked her about it. "Sarah, what's this?" I held up the paper, my voice shaking. She turned pale, her eyes wide with surprise, and for a moment I thought she might confess. Instead, she put on her best poker face. "What are you talking about? That's nothing." She snapped, her tone suddenly defensive. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, desperately trying to come up with some sort of excuse. "You're being paranoid. It's just a wrong number," she continued, her voice rising. I could feel the rage boiling inside me, fueled by her blatant lie. I felt like I was in a surreal nightmare. I had trusted this woman with my life, and now she was standing there denying everything with a straight face. The words, "I'm not cheating on you," spilled from her lips like a reflex, and I couldn't help but feel the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. I had searched for a reason, an explanation, but all I got was smoke and mirrors. I wanted to scream, to throw things, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I stepped back, letting her words wash over me. "You'll believe whatever you want, but I'm not cheating," she repeated, her eyes narrowing. A part of me wanted to believe her, to cling to the love we built over the years, but another part of me was screaming the truth I had just uncovered. I could feel the fabric of our lives unraveling, and I stood there, feeling like a stranger in my own home. The weight of the revelation bore down on me. It was surreal, painful, and I was left with a storm of emotions swirling in my chest: anger, sorrow, and confusion. How could she do this? How could she lie right to my face? That thought haunted me as I grappled with the reality of the situation. But I needed to know more. I needed to find out if my instincts were right. What ensued was a rabbit hole of emotions that would lead me into uncharted territory. The game was on, but I hadn't yet realized the stakes. After that confrontation, I felt like a robot going through the motions. I went to work, but my mind was a mess. I couldn't focus. My thoughts kept spiraling back to the piece of paper and Sarah's lies. What was I supposed to do next? I had to find out the truth, but my heart was caught in a tug-of-war with my head. The trust we built felt like shattered glass beneath my feet, and I knew I had to tread carefully. The first thing I did was reach out to Jake. He's a no-nonsense kind of guy, and I needed someone to lay it all out for me. We met at a local bar later that week, and I could barely keep it together as I spilled everything. Sarah's late-night outings, her obsession with her phone, and of course the slip of paper with Mark's name on it. As I recounted the last few weeks, Jake's expression shifted from concern to disbelief. "Dude, that's messed up," he said. You need to dig deeper, don't just let this slide. He had a point. I needed to gather evidence, something concrete that couldn't be swayed by her lies. So I turned into a detective. I started watching her more closely, keeping track of her schedule and noting any odd behaviors. It felt invasive, but I justified it to myself. I was protecting my heart after all. One Friday night, Sarah announced she was going out with friends again. I feigned support, acting like everything was normal, but inside I was a storm waiting to break. As soon as she left, I pulled out my laptop and began digging. I found Mark on social media, a casual guy, but his profile was too polished, the kind of guy who always seemed to have an impressive life. I could see pictures of him with friends, including a few with Sarah from their yoga class. The gut-wrenching feeling in my stomach intensified. That night, I decided to take a calculated risk. I texted Sarah, asking if she could pick up some groceries on her way home. I knew that she wouldn't be able to resist slipping away from whatever plans she had made. Sure enough, she responded almost immediately, saying she'd be home late because they were going to grab dinner. I felt my heart drop. Dinner with friends or dinner with Mark? I waited in the darkened living room, replaying the myriad of scenarios in my head. What if she was with him right now, laughing, sharing secrets, and being everything I thought she was? With me, the thought made my blood boil. I needed to confront her again, but I wanted to be prepared this time. As the clock ticked by, I decided to take a drive to the restaurant she mentioned. It was about 10 minutes away, and I felt the adrenaline coursing through me. Each passing streetlight felt like a countdown to my own emotional reckoning. I parked a few blocks away and walked toward the restaurant, my heart racing with anxiety and anger. When I arrived, I took a deep breath and surveyed the scene. I spotted her almost instantly. Sarah was sitting at a table, laughing, her head thrown back in that way that used to make me feel special, but now it felt like a dagger to my heart. My focus shifted, and I saw Mark leaning in close, whispering something in her ear. The sight twisted my insides. I stayed hidden behind a column, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the body language was unmistakable. The way she leaned into him, the way he reached out to touch her arm, it felt like a punch to the gut. Finally, I pulled out my phone and snapped a couple of quick photos, capturing the betrayal that was playing out in front of me. I watched them for what felt like hours, but it was likely just a few minutes. I could feel the anger rising, but I also felt a pang of sadness. This person, the woman I had loved and trusted, was slipping through my fingers. Eventually, I stepped away, my mind racing. I couldn't let this continue. I had seen enough. The next step was clear. I had to confront her, armed with irrefutable evidence. As I made my way back to my car, I prepared myself for the confrontation that was inevitable. I had to face the truth head-on, no more lies. But little did I know, Sarah had more tricks up her sleeve than I could ever have imagined. I felt a strange mixture of determination and dread as I drove home. The confrontation I envisioned was going to change everything, one way or another. It was time to bring her lies into the light. I just hoped I had the strength to handle whatever came next. When I got home, the house felt eerily quiet. It was almost surreal knowing that Sarah would soon walk through the door and everything would change. I sat on the edge of the couch, clutching my phone, the photos of her and Mark still fresh in my mind. I could feel the anticipation building in my chest, but it was coupled with an unsettling anxiety. How would she react? Would she deny everything again, or would this time be different? A little while later, the front door opened and she stepped in, a wide smile on her face. "Hey, babe. I spent a little more time with the girls than I thought," she said, her voice cheerful. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to force her to see how her deceit had shattered my world. But I bit my tongue, keeping my emotions in check. "Hey, Sarah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but intense. The smile faded from her face, replaced by a look of concern. She could sense the shift in the atmosphere, and I could see her mentally scrambling for a way to deflect. "What's wrong?" she asked, approaching me slowly. "You look serious." "Just sit down," I replied, pointing to the chair across from me. I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone, letting the silence stretch between us, my heart racing. I opened the photos I had taken, each one a testament to her betrayal. I saw you tonight with Mark. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought I saw panic flicker across her face before she quickly masked it with annoyance. What? That's ridiculous, she exclaimed, crossing her arms defensively. You were spying on me. No, I was trying to trust you, Sarah. But you've been lying to me, I said, showing her the photos. Her expression shifted from shock to anger as she glanced at the images. What the hell, Mike? You're such a jerk for doing this. A jerk, really. You're the one who's been cheating. I shot back, my voice thick with emotion. It felt like a weight had been lifted, but I was still drowning in anger and hurt. You've been sneaking around behind my back and treating me like I'm some kind of fool. She hesitated, her bravado cracking under the pressure. It's not what you think, she said, her tone suddenly desperate. Mark is just a friend. We talked about yoga and stuff. Just a friend. I saw how you were with him, Sarah. That's not just a friendly dinner. I yelled, feeling the emotions spill over. You were practically sitting in his lap. You can't possibly expect me to believe that's innocent. She sank back into her chair, a defeated look washing over her face. Okay, fine. Yes, we've been talking more than I should have, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But it was never supposed to go this far. Never supposed to go this far, I echoed incredulously. What does that even mean? You think this is just a game? Her eyes darted around the room as if searching for an escape. I just felt so alone lately. We've been so distant, and I thought maybe I could find some connection. But it didn't mean anything. You know how life gets, right? She was pleading now, trying to tug at my heartstrings, but I felt nothing but rage. Don't you dare make this about me. You chose to betray my trust, to go looking for something outside of our marriage. I shot back, the hurt spilling out of me like a broken dam. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said, her voice trembling. I thought I could just talk to him and it wouldn't matter. I thought I could fix things with us, but I didn't know how. I'm sorry. I am. Sorry doesn't cut it, Sarah. You've shattered everything we built together, I said, my chest heaving with emotion. How can I trust you again after this? She looked down, her face crumpling in regret. I don't know, she admitted, tears beginning to pool in her eyes. I messed up, Mike. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought if I could just find a little happiness, it would help us. I thought you'd never find out. Yet here we are, I said, feeling a strange mix of pity and anger washing over me. I had once loved this woman fiercely, and now I was sitting in front of her, a stranger. What do you want me to do? She asked, her voice breaking. Tell me how to fix this. I'll do anything. Could feel the weariness settle into my bones. I didn't want to rush into any decisions, but this wasn't something I could just brush aside. I needed time to think, to process. I don't know what I want right now, I replied, my voice softer. But this changes everything. I need space. Sarah nodded, understanding the weight of my words. As I walked away, I felt a rush of turmoil inside me. The confrontation had been cathartic yet devastating. I had laid bare her betrayal, but now I had to decide what came next. The night stretched on, and I found myself alone in our bedroom, staring at the wall. My heart felt heavy with sorrow, anger, and confusion. I didn't want this to be the end of our story, yet I couldn't ignore the reality of her actions. I needed to think clearly, and most importantly, I needed a plan for what would come next. The war wasn't over yet. If anything, it was just beginning. In the days that followed the confrontation, I found myself caught in an emotional whirlwind. Sarah was desperate to win me back, but her apologies felt hollow, like empty promises floating in the air. I could see the effort she was putting into trying to rekindle what we once had, but every time she reached out, I felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal wash over me. I didn't want her pity or her attempts to make things right. I wanted honesty. I spent hours scrolling through our pictures together, remembering the good times, the laughter, and the love that we had shared. But each smile I recalled was overshadowed by images of her with Mark, laughing and sharing moments I thought were exclusive to us. The hurt was suffocating, and I found myself stuck in a cycle of anger and sadness. I needed to do something, anything, to regain control of my life. Jake stepped in again, sensing my turmoil and offering to help me hatch a plan. Listen, man, he said, leaning across the table at our favorite coffee shop. You need to turn the tables, make her realize what she's lost. You can't just let her waltz back into your life after all this. He made a solid point. If I wanted a chance to salvage my dignity, and maybe even my marriage, I needed to show Sarah that I wasn't going to be a doormat. I needed to figure out how to get back at her to make her understand the magnitude of her betrayal. But I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted her to feel the weight of her choices. After some deep thought, I decided on a plan. I knew Sarah had been trying to keep her social life alive, going out with friends and posting on social media as if everything was normal. So, I decided to play along. I would re-enter the social scene, not to make her jealous, but to reclaim my identity and show her that I could be happy without her. I started going out with Jake more often. We hit up bars, played pool, and even signed up for a weekend hiking trip. I posted photos online, fun, carefree images of me enjoying life, smiling with friends and embracing every moment. I wanted Sarah to see that I was moving on, or at least trying to. And it worked. I could tell she was watching. She would text me about how much she missed me, suggesting we have dinner together or just talk. I kept my responses short and vague, making it clear that I was busy. It felt empowering to take control of my narrative, to turn the focus back on me. But then I received a message from Mark himself. The tone of his text was casual but loaded with tension. He claimed he wanted to clear the air, to talk about what had happened. I felt a mix of anger and confusion. Why the hell should I talk to him? He was the reason I was in this mess in the first place. But I realized that maybe confronting him could give me the closure I needed. So I agreed to meet him, but only on my terms. We arranged to meet at a small coffee shop downtown. I had no idea what to expect, but I wanted answers. When I arrived, I noticed Mark already sitting at a table, his posture relaxed but his expression unreadable. I took a seat across from him, and for a moment we just stared at each other. "So you're the infamous Mark," I said, my voice steady but laced with bitterness. "Yeah," he replied, leaning forward. "Look, man, I didn't mean for things to get complicated. Sarah and I were just talking. I didn't know she was married until she told me." "Talking? Is that what you call it?" I shot back, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "You knew she had a husband, yet you still pursued her. That's not just talking, and you know it." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Listen, I thought she was unhappy. I thought maybe I could help her. I didn't intend for it to go this far. I really didn't." "Help her?" I scoffed. "By taking her out on dates. By being her shoulder to cry on. You saw an opportunity and you took it." He looked away, conceding my point. "I know, I messed up, but I never wanted to hurt you. I just didn't think she'd lie to you to keep it going." I leaned back in my chair, processing his words. "So what? You just thought you'd swoop in and fix her problems. You'd be the hero in this story." He shook his head. "I didn't mean to be. I just wanted to be there for her. I guess I thought maybe she'd find happiness with me, but that's not what I wanted to do. I never wanted to be this guy." I felt a pang of something, sympathy maybe, but I quickly pushed it aside. "You're still responsible for your part in this. You need to understand that." "I do," he said, his voice sincere. "I've messed up. I regret it, but I didn't force her to lie to you. That was her decision." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of our conversation hanging in the air. It was strange, confronting the man who had played a role in my heartbreak. "Look, I'm not here to fight you," I finally said, trying to keep my cool. "I just want you to know that whatever connection you had with her, it's over. She's made her choice." As I stood to leave, I could see Mark's expression shifting. "Wait," he said, almost pleading. "Just one more thing. If she reaches out to you again, if she tries to make things right, don't let her pull you back in so easily. You deserve better." His words struck a chord, and for a moment I felt a sense of camaraderie with him. But then reality set in and I shook my head. "I'll figure it out on my own," I replied, walking away from the table. The conversation felt oddly cathartic, but it also left me with more questions than answers. I knew that Sarah would be reaching out again, and I had to prepare myself for what came next. I was regaining my strength, and the time had come to make some difficult decisions about my marriage. The game was still on, and I was ready to play my next move. After my meeting with Mark, I felt a strange sense of clarity settling over me. Confronting him had been a necessary step, a way to reclaim some of the power that I felt had been snatched away from me. I realized that I was done being passive in this situation. It was time to take control of my future. That night, Sarah texted me, her messages laced with concern and guilt. "Can we talk? I miss you. I'm sorry about everything." I stared at the screen, a mix of anger and longing swirling inside me. Part of me wanted to respond, to let her know how much she had hurt me, but another part was cautious. I knew I had to be strategic about this. I couldn't let her manipulate my emotions again. I finally replied, "We can talk, but it needs to be in person. I want to clear the air." I hit send and felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. I knew this conversation could change everything. We arranged to meet at a small park not far from our home, a neutral ground where we could both feel safe. I arrived early, pacing as I waited for her. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, but my stomach twisted in knots. I had no idea how this conversation would unfold, but I knew I wouldn't hold back. When Sarah arrived, I could see the tension etched on her face. She looked nervous, her eyes darting around as she approached me. "Hey," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hey," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. "We need to talk about everything that's happened." "Yeah, I know," she said, her voice shaky. "I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm so sorry, Mike. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I could find a way to fix our marriage, but I messed it up." "Maybe we should start with the truth," I said, my heart pounding. "Tell me everything, no more lies or half-truths. How did this happen?" She took a deep breath, and for a moment I thought she would be honest. "I felt like you were never around. You were so focused on work, and I felt alone. Mark was just someone who listened to me, who cared. I didn't mean for it to turn into anything. So it was just an emotional affair." I pressed, trying to gauge the extent of her betrayal. "Kind of," she admitted, her voice breaking. "But it got complicated. It felt like we were connecting in ways I thought I'd lost with you. I didn't want to let it go, and I kept lying to myself about it, but I realize now how wrong I was." Her words stung. "So you chose to betray me instead of talking to me about how you felt?" I challenged. "You could have come to me. You did. Even try." "I know," she said, tears brimming in her eyes. "I thought I could manage it all on my own. I didn't want to hurt you, but I ended up hurting you the most. I'm so sorry, Mike. I'll do anything to make this right." Her plea hit me hard. I felt a flicker of the love I once had for her, but it was shadowed by the betrayal that coursed through my veins. "You talk about making it right, but how can I trust you again? How can we go back to what we had when you chose to be with someone else?" "I'll prove to you that I want this marriage to work," she insisted, her voice full of desperation. "I'll go to counseling, whatever it takes, just please don't give up on us." I stared at her, weighing her words. Deep down, I wanted to believe that we could get through this, but the scars of her betrayal were still fresh. "It's not that simple, Sarah," I said, my voice tense. "Trust isn't easily rebuilt. You've shattered my faith in you and us." "I know I made terrible mistake," she said, her voice trembling. "But I love you and I want to fix this. Give me a chance to show you that I can change. I'll be honest with you from now on, I promise. Love isn't just a promise, it's actions." I felt a lump forming in my throat. "And you've shown me that your love can be so easily twisted. How do I know this isn't just a moment of guilt?" "Because I'm willing to fight for us," she exclaimed, her eyes pleading. "I don't want to lose you. I want to prove that I can be better." I took a deep breath, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. "You want to fight for our marriage? Then you need to show me that you're serious about this. I can't be the only one putting in the effort. You'll have to take responsibility for your actions, and I need time to process everything." She nodded, her expression shifting from desperation to determination. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of our conversation hanging in the air. The thought of rebuilding felt daunting, but a small part of me wanted to try. I was still angry, still hurt, but maybe there was a glimmer of hope. "Let's take it one day at a time," I finally said. "I need to see real change, and we'll both have to work at this, but I can't promise that it will be easy." "Thank you," she said, her relief palpable. "I won't let you down again. I'll show you that I mean it." I nodded, knowing that our journey wouldn't be straightforward. But I also knew that I had to take the time to heal, to reflect on what I truly wanted. As we walked away from the park, an uneasy truce hung between us. We were still far from where we once were, but perhaps we could find our way back together. It was a precarious path, one filled with uncertainty, but it was a step forward nonetheless. The weeks that followed our conversation in the park were a mix of hope and trepidation. Sarah was doing everything she could to prove her commitment to our marriage. She attended counseling sessions, reached out to friends for support, and even tried to reconnect with me in small, meaningful ways. At first, I found it hard to accept her gestures. It felt foreign to have her trying so hard to win me back. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the facade to crumble once again. We started having open discussions, which was a huge shift for us. I could see her trying to be more transparent. She'd share her feelings, her fears, and even her regrets about the affair. I was careful in my responses, wanting to be supportive but also cautious. Trust doesn't get rebuilt overnight. It's a slow, painstaking process like repairing a fragile piece of pottery. During one of our conversations, I finally opened up about my feelings. It's hard for me to forget, Sarah. I still wake up sometimes and think about what you did. I admitted, my voice heavy. And I don't know if I'll ever fully shake that. I know, she replied, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I can't undo the past, but I can promise you that I'm doing everything I can to rebuild your trust. I don't want to be that person anymore. We began to establish new routines, ones built around communication and honesty. Sarah suggested we go on weekend hikes together, something we once enjoyed but had lost over time. It felt strange at first, but gradually, the shared experiences helped us reconnect. We found ourselves laughing again, reminiscing about the good times and even creating new memories. But the specter of her infidelity loomed over us, and I often had to remind myself not to dwell on it. I wanted to move forward, but the scars were still fresh. I learned to set boundaries, letting her know when I felt uncomfortable or when something sparked my insecurities. And she listened, really listened, which was a welcome change. One evening, while sitting on the couch together, Sarah turned to me and said, "I really appreciate how patient you've been. I know I don't deserve it, but thank you for giving me a chance." I looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. "It's hard, but I want this to work. I want us to be happy together again, but you need to understand that it will take time." She nodded, her expression serious. "I'm in this for the long haul. I want to prove to you that I've changed." With time, I found myself beginning to trust her again, albeit cautiously. We started discussing the future, making plans, and even talking about traveling together. It was like cracking the surface of a frozen lake. Beneath the ice, there was warmth and life, but it was slow to thaw. Then one day, I received a call from Jake. He had seen Mark around town and casually mentioned that he had seemed lost since everything went down. "I don't know if this helps you, but I think he regrets what happened," Jake said. I appreciated the update, but it didn't change anything for me. I had moved past that chapter. I realized I was no longer consumed by anger towards Mark. Instead, my focus was on rebuilding my life with Sarah, taking back the narrative that had slipped through my fingers. One evening, as we were cooking dinner together, I looked at Sarah and felt a warmth spreading through me. "You know, I think we might actually be getting somewhere," I said, a smile creeping onto my face. "I hope so," she replied, returning my smile, "because I'm not going anywhere. I love you and I'm committed to making this right." Her words resonated deeply within me. I had come to understand that love is not just about the good times, it's also about working through the tough moments together. It's about the willingness to face the darkness and emerge stronger. As we sat down to eat, I felt a flicker of hope. It was a long road ahead, but I was beginning to believe that we could navigate it together. Perhaps this experience had changed us, but it didn't have to define us. We were finding our way back, one step at a time. And as I looked across the table at Sarah, I realized that maybe, just maybe, we could turn this betrayal into a stronger bond. Life is unpredictable. Sometimes the hardest battles lead to the sweetest victories. With that thought in mind, I raised my glass and we toasted to new beginnings, to healing, and to the promise of tomorrow.